No Google, no Wikipedia, no YouTube. Could you navigate school, work, or even daily life without the internet? During World War II, soldiers' letters home could take weeks to arrive. Contrast that with today's instant messaging. Yet nearly half the world, around 3 billion people, still lacks internet access. Imagine relying on landline phones, postal mail, or in-person gatherings. How would communication, entertainment, or even work adapt? Life might slow down or shift in unexpected ways. In this journey, we'll explore 6 key domains: communication, information access, entertainment, commerce, work/education, and relationships. The answers might surprise you more than you think. How communication would slow to a crawl. Imagine trying to plan a birthday party for a friend who lives in another city. Without the internet, you'd pick up a landline phone, hoping they're near it when you call. If they're not, you're leaving a message on their answering machine, one they might not even check that day. Want to follow up? Write them a letter, and then wait a week for it to arrive. Suddenly, even the simplest conversations would require a great deal of effort, and urgency would dissolve into patience. That's the difference when instant messaging, video calls, and social media no longer exist, replaced by outdated or far slower methods of communication. Today, nearly everything we say can reach someone instantly. Whether you're sending an emoji-laden text to a friend, hopping on a Zoom call with a coworker, or responding to an email at midnight, communication is fluid, non-stop, and nearly effortless. But without the digital world, messages would crawl along at the speed of transportation, whether that's a person delivering a note on foot, a postal worker traveling in a truck, or a phone call routed through physical wires. This slowdown wouldn't just impact casual chats. It would ripple across work tasks, personal relationships, and whole industries. Consider what this would mean for businesses operating across time zones or even continents. Companies once waited several days for critical letters, delaying shipments and missing deadlines. Without instant messaging or email, negotiation deals or managing crises would take far longer. Businesses of the past adapted to these slower intervals, but alongside their patience came significant limitations on growth. For families, the impact would be even more obvious. Today, grandparents video chat with their young grandkids, and siblings living across countries can exchange memes or updates with a quick swipe. Without this, families spread across distances would need to work much harder or plan much further ahead to stay in touch. How long would it take to know your sister had just had a baby if your only option was a letter? In a pre-internet world, it wasn't unusual for people to learn major family updates through letters arriving weeks later or during occasional long-distance calls when the cost wasn't prohibitive. During World War II, field post routes could take up to 6 weeks, underscoring how much faster we expect communication today. Every relationship would demand more intentionality and effort, relying on deliberate actions to maintain connections. Then there's the absence of social media. Platforms like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or X, don't just connect individual friends. They create networks of connections that span communities, neighborhoods, and even movements. Without them, events wouldn't go viral, and causes wouldn't rally thousands overnight. Community building would return to physical town halls, club meetings, and face-to-face conversations at a far smaller scale. Early bulletin board systems, BBS, precursors to modern internet forums, offered a glimpse of digital networking, but their reach was limited compared to today's platforms. People might spend more time involved in their immediate surroundings, but they'd also miss out on connecting with like-minded individuals from all corners of the world. Experts note that in pre-internet times, societies operated at a significantly slower pace. This slower tempo didn't just affect processes like sending a letter, it changed how people approach conversations and relationships. If arranging a single phone call or carefully crafting a letter took time, people often put more thought into what they wanted to say, in part because it might be their only opportunity to say it. Imagine picking up a pen and crafting your thoughts on paper instead of firing off a quick "how's it going" text. Would that shift make communication feel more meaningful? Now, think about what that extra effort would do to the value we place on our connections. If every letter, every phone call, or every in-person visit carried significant weight, might we cherish those gestures more? Receiving a letter from a distant friend could feel like an event in itself, a tangible piece of effort and energy that someone spent just on you. Communication certainly wouldn't feel as disposable as it often does today, where unread texts pile up and emails are skimmed without a second thought. But even with that potential for deeper meaning, the limitations are miles away from the convenience we've come to rely on. Deliberate, patient communication might sound appealing, but could we adjust to the slower rhythms without losing entire pieces of progress? Because just as communication requires speed, so does accessing the information we share, something that would fundamentally change along with it. When libraries were the Google of the past. Imagine needing an answer to a simple question, like the boiling point of water, and instead of typing a few words into Google, you had to get up, drive to the nearest library, and sift through multiple books to find it. Or, more realistically, ask a librarian for guidance, locate a textbook, and flip through the index only to discover that the pages you needed are missing. In a world without the internet, this would be your everyday reality for accessing knowledge. Every search would demand time, patience, and deliberate effort. Today, Wikipedia and online databases put everything from ancient history to quantum physics at your fingertips. But there was a time when the ultimate search engine was a good catalog and a set of encyclopedias. Search engines have erased the barrier between you and information. Want to learn about the civil rights movement or the life cycle of a star? You're seconds away from an article, blog post, or video explaining it step by step. You can cross-check with multiple sources, scroll through data archives, or zoom in on digital manuscripts without leaving your bedroom. You can cross-check with multiple sources, scroll through data archives, or zoom in on a digital manuscript without leaving your bedroom. That speed and ease have redefined how we work and learn. But without it, you'd be swapping those instant searches for hours spent in library aisles, scanning dense bookshelves, and manually taking notes. Take students as an example. Before the internet, doing your homework often meant going to the library. A basic research paper required flipping through encyclopedias, scanning bibliographies, and handwriting notes. If the local library didn't have what you needed, you'd request an interlibrary loan. It could take days or weeks for the book to arrive, depending on how obscure it was. What if that one missing volume held the answers to your final exam? A single week of middle school assignments could feel like a marathon of battling crammed aisles, hunting for a single chapter, and rewriting borrowed material by hand. Interestingly, limited access often spurred creativity. Students invented new ways to approach research or leaned on librarians' expertise to uncover hidden resources. This slower process required critical thinking, not just consuming information, but deciding what to seek out and why. Spending hours in a library, combing through an index or skimming a card catalog fostered intellectual stamina. Without shortcuts, depth came first. Today, we often skim half a dozen tabs at a time, trading depth for breadth. Could this give knowledge a different kind of value? Without Google's endless answers, people once grew attached to the information they worked hardest to retrieve. Imagine reading, annotating, and rereading one meticulously chosen book. Would we feel more connected to knowledge if our efforts mirrored its importance? Still, the internet has democratized knowledge. Wherever you are, the collective wisdom of human history is open to you. But is something lost in the ease? Returning to libraries means reintroducing friction. That slower rhythm might help us experience learning differently, not as convenient consumption, but as an intentional act. But while libraries provided the keys to knowledge, what about the times when you didn't want to focus or learn deeply, but just have fun? Let's take a look at how entertainment would work in a world where on-demand didn't exist. Entertainment without streaming or social media. No Netflix, no YouTube, no endlessly scrolling through Instagram or TikTok. When the internet disappears, so too does our ability to access entertainment whenever and wherever we want. So what would fun look like? Instead of binging an entire season of a show in one sitting or falling into a 2-hour rabbit hole of YouTube videos, entertainment in a pre-internet world was limited, deliberate, and required actual planning. Streaming services have put a world of content right in your hands, but it wasn't always this seamless. Netflix, for example, began in 1998 as a mail-order DVD rental service. You'd select your movie online, wait for it to arrive in the mail, and then return it when you were done. Without the internet, Netflix would have relied entirely on postal delivery, much like physical rental stores such as Blockbuster. Blu-ray, which was gaining traction in the late 1990s, might have extended the dominance of physical media further, or even spurred the creation of another format entirely. Without the internet, Netflix would have relied entirely on postal delivery, much like physical rental stores such as Blockbuster. Blu-ray, which was gaining traction in the late 90s, might have extended the dominance of physical media further, or even spurred the creation of another format entirely. Back then, watching a movie at home wasn't about instant gratification. It was a process, one that added weight to the experience. Speaking of those rental stores, they were the closest thing you had to on-demand entertainment. If you wanted to watch a movie on a Friday night, you'd head down to the store, browse the shelves, and hope your pick wasn't already rented. Before rentals became widespread, movie lovers had to catch films in theaters or wait months, even years, for another chance to see them on television. This lack of immediacy made entertainment feel more like an event. Family movie nights weren't casual. They were planned, often feeling more special because of the effort involved. Now, think about what this means for creators. Without platforms like YouTube or TikTok, independent filmmakers, musicians, and artists struggled to reach audiences beyond their local regions. Mainstream media giants controlled what people consumed, leaving little room for niche interests or experimental art to find a foothold. Cultural trends moved slowly, often taking years to spread, rather than hours. Would handwriting your film review in a fanzine have felt more meaningful than double-tapping a comment on Instagram? Dennis Sadowski's observation about the weight of physical media resonates here. Tangible items like magazines and comic books gave entertainment a sense of permanence and anticipation that digital content often lacks. Without digital distractions, people likely turn to hobbies, in-person activities, and community events. Imagine a weekly movie night in the park where neighbors brought blankets and shared snacks, creating bonds that algorithms can't replicate. Entertainment wasn't just about consuming, it was about connecting. While today's streaming and social media platforms offer convenience and variety, they lack the slower, curated quality of a world without the internet. Would that trade-off make entertainment feel more personal, or leave us longing for the endless choices we now take for granted? The internet has undeniably reshaped society, but imagining a world without it highlights what we've left behind. Slower communication and fewer distractions once encouraged deeper focus, unhurried relationships, and stronger communities. While instant connectivity brings efficiency, it often trades meaningful interaction for convenience. Across communication, information access, entertainment, commerce, work, and relationships, the shift has been profound. Could balancing offline richness with digital progress improve our lives? Try dedicating 1 internet-free hour per day to rediscover patience and deliberate connection. Which pre-internet habit would you bring back? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay tuned.
Don't forget to subscribe to Alt History Zone and become a valued member of the Alt History Zone family to discover new historical what-ifs every single week.